have, for the first time in my life, been called white on a regular basis here.
So coming to Ghana, and everyone just says, "You're white." So, really? Okay, that's new.
When I moved to my village, and of course we're all separated and in villages alone, my first experience with being called a white woman, I was really surprised, actually. I was extremely surprised because clearly, you know, I'm not white, and I've never been called white in my life. So to be called white by an adult, it was very surprising.
I know they don't mean it bad, but seeing someone from the same community who's got probably lighter skin tone than I have, calling me white wouldn't be like as pleasant as anybody else would think.
It doesn't bother me as much anymore. I just pretty much ignore it because
it was a little, difficult to take, but I dealt with it. Luckily, the community had its own process of changing their attitude, so now everybody calls me by name. So yeah, I think I've won.
But I think with the Black volunteer, it's even harder than if you're a lighter skin, because they automatically see you and say like, oh, you're not as American, whatever that means.
My cultural and ethnic background is a really big part of me, and when I'm not recognized for that, it's like, it's really strange.
I think that it's important that we're all here. I think it's a statement to what Peace Corps is about and how Peace Corps is growing. Maybe there was a time where all the volunteers that came were white. Mm-hmm. And today, 2015, we have 6 black girls.
Being called white so much is just very different for me because my whole life I've been called brown.
Alright, well, welcome back. As you saw in that last segment, life in Ghana varies greatly for a lot of volunteers. That section brought up some really good points, you know, talking about some of the different expectations that black volunteers have when they come into their communities, how it feels to be hidden or to be seen all the time. But I think we can take it one step further. We've got a common issue or something that comes up a lot in the black female volunteer experience. And one of our own, Ebony Hooper, she, I think, has something really great to say about this, so let's go ahead and go to her, and then we'll come back and discuss what she says.
Everyone always seems to agree, like, yes, in Ghana, the way women, their opportunities aren't the same. And it seems like a unanimous agreement about Ghanaian women and their place in society here. But it seems like also no one ever thinks about, or it seems that way, that an African-American woman living in Ghana takes on that same plight because in her community she's perceived to be a part of the culture or a Ghanaian woman.
Yeah, you know, I think Ebony brought up a really great point about what it's like for the black female volunteer here in country. But Mike, can you tell us a little bit about maybe your experiences as a black male here living in Ghana?
Oh, sure. As a man, I come across different Ghanaian men, and they will identify me as being in a tribe difference from them. Automatically, I can't be American. I must be from another tribe. So if they don't get along with other tribes, then that can be an issue to getting to know people. But like I said, we've been talking to a lot of volunteers during their service early on, and they're in the middle of their service. So we get a chance to show them some little keys that they can gain respect and that they don't have to struggle with their confidence and working with these people in these communities.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mike. It's really important to consider the part of the Peace Corps volunteer in their community. We have to educate our communities about Americans, and we need to advocate for ourselves, even when we feel like our advocacy may get in the way of our service. It's important for us to exchange between cultures and use those times as teaching moments. So we can go ahead and go to the next section. We'll be talking about the N-word.
Let's go and take a look at what happens in this video.
One teacher at my school loves the N-word. He will call everyone, he calls the little kids the N-word, he calls me the N-word, and I mean, like the first time it happened, I just assumed I misheard. But then he kept using it, and each time I'm just, are you sure you're gonna use that? Like that's really the word you're gonna use?
I know they learn this kind of word through like whatever they see on TV or music video.
Ghanaians don't really use the word nigger as much, but from time and I'll stop them. Please don't use that word, because my grandmother being a sharecropper and picking cotton for decades would turn in her grave. Please don't use it. It's a very negative word toward us.
I think more than anything else, that really helps hammer down just like the crazy cultural differences, because I mean slavery is such a big part of our nation's history, and it's developed our culture to such an extent that even if like you just compare the African American culture to the African culture and you really see how big that American component is, even through just my teacher tossing around the N-word like it's a definite article.
They don't mean it bad, but I've been called like the N-word because of a certain way, the way I was dressing up. Oh, you were dressed like this, you know, like, no, I mean, it was shocking to hear that. So I had to tell them, I mean, those people, you cannot use this kind of word ever. It's not correct to call someone with such word. It's super sensitive. So
now they don't say it as much as some of my white colleagues will say the word, because if I say the N-word, that means you probably should say the N-word and not say the word. But they'll just blatantly say it, which I have to pause because I'm usually in a group with them and not saying anything. So
there's a lot of attention to just well-tailored, like beauty, like Britney here. Like I noticed that like that's also a standard of beauty, that like looking really nice, well dressed, and so I've tried to embrace that sometimes.
I haven't had any issues with my village with my hair being natural or wanting to have braids and not straight hair. The first thing when I got to my village was like, oh, we're not doing the perm anymore, and everyone was proud.
I feel they think every white person is beautiful. Like it doesn't matter how you look.
With a lot of black volunteers, they're smiling on the outside in front of white volunteers, but on the inside they're crying. They're struggling, and they just want someone to reach out to.
I was speaking to one of the teachers one day, and he just popped out his phone. And so then we started going through his pictures, and I was going through his pictures, white woman, just a bunch of white girls, and he had a bunch of pictures of Nicki Minaj too. I don't know why. But yeah, so it's just, they think that, you know, just light skin. White hair, well, blonde hair, blue eyes, and all of that, that's, you know, what is right.
I have a small girls group, and they don't think they're beautiful. When they see themselves taking pictures, they say I'm too dark, I'm ugly, I'm not pretty. Even having my own counterpart tell me to my face, you're ugly.
It's like they put a high value on just being lighter skinned, that you're more attractive, you're more intelligent.
It doesn't really matter the color, you know, I was going, it isn't goes by the color of your skin, you know, beauty comes from within. You can't go by what other people, what the society thinks that beauty is. And I said, I'm light skinned, but I don't have a big head, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people are more beautiful than I am, and they can be, you know, as black as all outdoors.
Every young woman, I feel like, across the world, growing up feels like they are not beautiful.
Like I try and tell my students a lot too. Like you're beautiful, like you're pretty, and they're like, no, we're not like you. Some of them lighten their skin with like pomade, and I'm like, stop doing that. Like you're more beautiful the way you are than if you try to change.
Cross-culturally, I think that that's something that is really sad, that young girls across the world, no matter how they look, no matter their complexion, they're always trying to be something that they're not.